Session module number 2 is research. One of my favorite topics of all time is research. And I want to play this little clip from one of my huge favorite people I looked up to in the world is Aaron Sorkin, one of the best screenwriters of all time. Wrote the screenplay for all of these on the left side: Social Network, A Few Good Men, West Wing, Steve Jobs, the one that won the best screenplay version, and a lot of these have won tons of awards. Okay, Trial of the Chicago 7, Newsroom, Molly's Game, Moneyball, The American President, Charlie Wilson's War. This clip is from masterclass.com. He did a masterclass, and I want to play this little 1-minute clip here.
From the moment I say I'm starting until the moment I deliver it is usually about 18 to 24 months on a screenplay. But
18 to 24 months to deliver a screenplay, which is about 100 to 130 page, mini book, basically. So, and he's already got like the story, like, okay.
Most of that time is spent trying to think of it and being depressed. There are people.
In case you missed that, I'll play that part again.
18 to 24 months on a screenplay, but most of that time is spent trying to think of it and being depressed. There are people
being depressed
for whom it is 10 weeks, 12 weeks. In fact, I'm pretty sure the contracts that I sign say that I'm going to deliver it in 12 weeks, and just nobody ever believes that.
So 12 weeks, it takes him 12 to 24 months. This is my process too. I'm very long. I take a long time to create. And it takes me so long. It, like my webinar that converted really well, that turned into our boot camps and our challenges and stuff, everlasting ad stuff. I thought it was going to take me a few weeks. It took me 6 months to make that freaking webinar. Literally, I just kept putting it, and it really sucked because we lost a lot of money during that time waiting for me to like just come up with ideas and make it better. And like, it just like kept bringing all this other stuff in. But by the time it finished, it was the foundation for the next 4 years of our business. Like that 3 or 4 months that I put into that was so much well worth trying to do it in a week or two. I'm talking about a webinar, you guys, one webinar. Okay. It took me 4 months to do.
Most of that 18 to 24 months is spent not writing. Most of that 18 to 24 months is spent bulking up, preparing to write. Once I start typing the screenplay, if everything's going great, I can usually do it in 2 or 3 months. What came before that was months and months and months, probably a year, of not writing, of banging your head against the wall, doing a lot of research, whether it's reading or meeting with people, banging your head against the wall. It's one of the mentally challenging parts of being a writer is that most days you don't write. Most days you wake up in the morning and you go to sleep at the end of the day and you haven't written anything. And it's a demoralizing feeling. On the other hand, those much less common days where you did write and you wrote something good, you feel like you can fly.
You feel like you can fly. So I just want you guys to think about this when you're wondering, like when you're pissed off and you're bummed out, and like some of my videos on TikTok, I haven't created that many, but it's really tough because you have to look at your personality, right? There's a Gary V. He's the guy that just goes and writes and does really fast stuff. I know some writers. Frank Kern's that way. Frank Kern is a prolific writer. He's the most anti-social person. He's very huge, big, like he scored the highest ever, he told me, on the fear of crowds and fear of anxiety with Dr. Amen's stuff, brain scan. And it's like he is a very prolific writer. He writes really fast and he's funny. And there's people that are like that. And they work usually in, they're writers of like Jimmy Fallon and like, you know, for teams, right? And they write fast, and that's them. I'm not that way. Okay. And I bet you most people on this aren't that way either. I would consider myself creative because I enjoy it. But I'm not overly creative. I just like to research. That's where all the magic has happened for me. And like, even like I told you, it took me 4 months for that webinar, but that was not only the foundation of like products and everything, like a lot of the ads that I'm doing, I'm still pulling from that, like the big idea around that, you know? And so when I go, and sometimes I can make an ad quicker because of the work I did initially. So as much as, you know, those goals are important to you guys, don't, you know, if you commit to posting for sure. But to me, it's like when you're going through that goal setting again today or tomorrow, ideally, think about this process I'm going to take you through right now and commit to researching, commit to coming up with lots of ideas and hooks. Because when you have ideas of hooks and a list and potential videos you can do, you'll get to them because they're written down. They're in there. And I've got this running list. So I'm not worried about making more videos on TikTok because I have my list. And so, and I'm getting different ideas. And if like some of those feel like, I don't think it's going to be that good, then, you know, I'll go research and I'll go watch and I find another creator that it's an easier style. Okay. There's a new style I'll give you guys at the end of this session that could be anybody on here can do. It's a new little 6-second video that's going viral on TikTok right now. You do like a 6-second, just standing there, not even saying anything. You could say something, but, or not. It's both, works both ways, but you could just like look at the screen or look at the camera and then have text on the screen, but like a pretty good amount. And I'll show you in a second, in a little bit here. And there's too much text to be able to read it all in 6 seconds. So your video loops like 3 times by the time they finish reading your quote or whatever you're saying. And that tells TikTok your video has high watch time and it goes crazy. So that's something right now anybody here could commit to. And I'll show you that. I'll show you one of the video of a girl talking about that tactic. And so there's other, like, if you feel stuck a little bit, you know, go research some more creators, you know, find another strategy that resonates with you right now. Okay. Not necessarily a topic, but it might just be a style of video that's easier to do. Okay. I recommend all 3 of these books. These have been life-changing for me. Contagious for me by far. I didn't even read Hook Point and Made to Stick until the last 2 years. So Contagious is a game changer for sure, especially with the styles of videos that work on TikTok. It's just so on point. The 6 principles of like just tactical utility style stuff, utility style stuff. And then Hook Point's a newer book by Brendan Kane. He wrote another book called 1 Million Followers, where he did an experiment where he ran ads to get followers on Facebook and Instagram, but using like inspirational style videos. And by the way, that's a strategy that a lot of people here could utilize. Like if your videos aren't taking off and you're like, hey, I want to start running some ads, we're going to have some opportunity with TikTok ads to build followers for cheap. I can guarantee it. Just like we did with Facebook back in the day, when we could get fans for a penny when we went like campaigns. It was crazy. And so that's a strategy that I have a feeling will be a good strategy for people here. So everything that we're going to go through and learning the video, like if you're going to pay for fans, you still need a really freaking good video that hooks people in, because the fan cost per fan or follower will be 10 times, 20 times cheaper than a lame video. Okay. So research stays important. Made to Stick. All these are such amazing books. Made to Stick was recommended to me by Dan Harmon from the Harmon Brothers, who does all the like the Squatty Potty, Poopery, really viral videos, chat books. Okay. And these all have similar ideas. The Hook Point I like too, because it really follows my same process as well. So 1 second here. All right. The idea that leads to the idea. This is my motto. This is my mantra that I would love to pass on to you and always be thinking about in the back of your mind. And I got this from Victoria LeBaum at the bottom of my screen. That's her and Pete Doctor, who is Now the head of Disney Pixar used to be just a screenwriter there, and he wrote like Inside Out. Right here is the screenplay for Inside Out, not the screen. Well, before the screenplay, this is the brainstorming and the mapping out, storyboarding for the movie Inside Out. But he also wrote Toy Story, like two of the Toy Stories, Up, a bunch of them basically. But now he's the head of it, and so he's one of her best friend, and she is married to Frank Oz. That's me and him at their house on the right there. So Frank Oz is the legendary co-creator of the Muppets with Jim Henson, and he also played Yoda in all of the Star Wars and still does, if they make any new ones. And so he's also a legendary director of lots of other stuff. But these are creative people, right? And they go and they get together with some other like legends in Hollywood once a year, and they go camping, and they go out and they like get creative, and they run each other's ideas by each other and stuff. And all their motto is this right here: it's the idea that leads to the idea. So no brainstorming is bad. No bad idea is a bad idea, because sometimes that leads to a good idea. And usually there's like, it's like this idea leads to this idea, leads to this idea, leads to this idea. And that's how, if you watch my little bonus training I threw in last week, we'll link to it in the members area if you didn't have it, and I'll put it in the chat here, where I had that like an hour-long webinar where I talked about flow and creativity and how the brain switches, and that you need all these other things to do. You need to be learning new ideas, and that aren't even relative. That's why sometimes if you're learning a skill like a sport or music, musical instrument, that sometimes leads to an idea in your business, even though they don't seem related. But when you're brainstorming and thinking of ideas, it really will help you. Okay, so that's the model. So let's get a little tactical here. Talk to your customers and read the comments. This is some stuff from my Hacking the Hook stuff. I just pulled out a little bit of the Hacking the Hook training that is really important for this. And this is legendary advertiser David Ogilvy here. And these are advertisers, you guys, but these principles here are what I want to pull out for TikTok. Okay, let's see here. He's right here.
You're able to advertise anything else.
It gets in here, right here.
You've been responsible for some legendary ad campaigns. Do you want to start listing off a few of them for folks?
Oh, there have been so many. I did good advertising for Rolls-Royce many years ago, and for Hathaway shirts, you know, the man with the patch on his eye.
That was your idea to have a guy like that?
Yeah, he was my client. And what else? Hathaway shirts, Schweppes,
Yeah.
Commander Whitehead. You remember him selling Schweppes for 20 years, 30 years? And Dove toilet soap, you know that?
Yeah.
Well, I've done hundreds of them. I've probably done as much advertising as any living man.
Well, at the time, what was going through your mind to think that a man with missing an eye would be a good way to sell dress shirts?
I'd seen some research which showed that...
I've seen some research. He was a researcher before he owned his own agency. He was a researcher for another ad agency for like 5 years, and then he moved to Europe. Then he came back to the US and started his own agency. But he had that foundation of being a researcher.
If you can inject into...
Anybody that spends time being a researcher for somebody else, for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, their whole life, I mean, that is such a foundation for an incredible life. It's unbelievable. Like one of my favorite, the guy that wrote The War of Art, and he also wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance with Will Smith, and he was a copywriter for an advertising agency before he was an author, prolific author. Most people don't know that, right? He was a business copywriter before he now is a world famous, legendary screenwriter and, of course, writer of The War of Art.
Add an element of story appeal.
So back to this eye patch, you guys. So he had the idea from research, but the reason why he used it, it's sort of a pattern interrupt, right? But it's also story appeal. Listen to what he says here.
Sure.
I'd seen some research which showed that if you can inject into the ad an element of story appeal, you do well. People read the ad. They look at that. They say, who is this man in an eye patch? That takes about a tenth of a second.
Yeah.
And they want their curiosity to speak. So then they go under the picture and read the copy, and that's how you sell the shirts.
So building in a little fantasy with the product.
Exactly so. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Easier said than done. But like, that's the curiosity, right? It's one of our hooks. And a lot of creators out there, YouTubers especially, and obviously TikTokers, they're doing things that are subtle that you don't even notice until you start to really learn some of this stuff and start to pay attention. obviously thumbnails, right? Yes, people make some stupid, hypey, clickbait thumbnails, but some of them are so good. You know, who's one of the best at this? Mr. Beast, right? Mr. Beast is his thumbnails are one of the biggest reasons why so Mr. Beast would be a great guy to study for this stuff because he does really good stories. But it's like, it's unique. It's weird, right? But a lot of times it's all in the science guy. It's another YouTuber I would study is, he's, what's his name? He's like the biggest channel. He's kind of a younger audience, but he does these really cool science experiments, but his thumbnails are so money. And you're so curious, and it's like the eye patch here. And so with TikTok, you don't get frozen thumbnails, but all these principles are the same, right? The text overlay, that's why that text that you have in the beginning or your first screen is so important on TikTok. Like the same video that you repost a month later or a year later with totally different text that's like curious, that's a good hook, that's all kinds of different things you can do to bring them in. A lot of people, they just think like frustrations, challenges, like benefits. Think beyond that. And the way you can think beyond that is by this research, by just looking at other people. Okay. And we'll definitely load up a lot of examples over the next month. But anyways, yeah, Justin's in the comments. I think last time I looked, I meant to mention this at the beginning, Justin. Yeah. Reading the comments on my TikToks that have done well has revealed really strong emotions that people are reacting to 100%. 1.7 million. I think the video I mentioned that you had 326,000 or something like that, like 2 days later, that's got like 1.7 million. Last time I looked, your second video on TikTok. That's tough because you're like, oh, wow, I want to do that every time. You know, it might be another 6 months before that happens again. Realistically, you don't know, but man. Okay. So let's keep going. Talk to your customers and read the comments if you have customers. I know some of you guys might not. A lot of you guys here do. Comments on your TikToks, comments on anything else. Dan Harmon from the Harmon Brothers, this "Girls Don't Poop" title of this video that ended up becoming their best headline on their Facebook ads as well, came from a YouTube comment. Some 50-year-old or 40-year-old guy wrote a freaking comment, "Girls don't poop," right? It's a joke. And that ended up becoming their best headline on Facebook, which turned into their title on YouTube. They changed the title. So these things and these comments, you'll get, that's where the idea leads to the idea too, right? Now, if you're just starting on TikTok and your first few videos, maybe your first 30, 40 videos only gets 200 or 300 views, you're not going to have a lot of comments. That's okay. Think about anything else you've ever done. Have you run ads before? Running ads is a little bit tough because you're going to get a lot of like weird, stupid comments from people that aren't in your market. But organic comments are going to be a little bit more relative to help you, I think, figure things out. Okay. But you can also survey if you have customers, if you have a list. You can survey people too once you start to build up a following organically. And so you can run ads if you want to for a survey. But I think the deep dive survey is really powerful for, of course, if you're trying to build funnels and ads, but it's also really powerful for this too, right? So that's something you can do if you want. This is a deep dive survey that we send every couple years basically. And are you looking to improve your Facebook ads in the next 90 days? This is sort of following, not sort of, this is exactly following Ryan Levesque's survey funnel method. And part of that process is this deep dive survey. So this is really the goal of this survey, is to get people to give you, write stories to you and like tell you really how they feel and use those words. And so the survey, typically you don't need to do like for TikTok like this right now. If you're like, let's say you're running ads or something like that, you want to improve your landing pages and your copy, this you should do. Everybody on here should do, whether you're doing TikTok or not. But the reason why a lot of times we do this deep dive survey is these first few questions are sort of grease on the chute. They're just real simple questions they can answer, and you can have multiple choice answers. And then, but the goal is to get these questions that I have highlighted here answered, the longer ones. Like, what's your number one single biggest challenge or frustration with using Facebook? And I got that covered a little bit, but to get traffic and sales right now, please be as detailed and specific as possible. Please go beyond saying too confusing or too expensive. The more specific and detailed you are, the more likely I'll be able to cover your topic. Now, if I email this out to my list, I say, hey, we're looking to create some more content to specifically for what you're looking for. So would you, I'd love to hear from you what you would like to hear from us, right? So you're either creating more content or you're creating a program around that. So you're positioning, if you're asking somebody for a survey, to fill out a survey, you want to position that survey as a benefit to them. Not, hey, would you mind filling out this survey? No, you lead with, hey, I'd like to create content more appropriate for exactly what situation you're in right now. So would you mind filling out these couple questions? That's how you ask for a survey. We're looking to, create some products based on your style, your flavor, your taste. And so that's how you position it. Okay. Roughly what's the overall size? So these are, and then another one, why do you want to grow your business? So at the beginning, I'm looking for challenges and frustrations. The second one here is more like desires, right? What's the biggest reason why I want to master this or have someone master it for you? And then I like this one as well. If you could wave a magic wand in 90 days, what would your perfect dream scenario be? This is also a great question to ask somebody if you're on a sales call. It's the best question to ask, basically, actually, if you're on a sales call with someone. What's your dream scenario in 90 days? They're going to tell you exactly what they want. Okay, so what's your primary? Yeah, anyways, they're more of those three orange ones are the most important ones.